The observation deck of the Galactic Academy training station hummed with the nervous energy of 24 cadets, their varied physiologies creating a tapestry of scales, fur, and chitinous plates. They pressed against the reinforced viewport, watching the scene below with a mixture of horror and fascination. In the biodome training ground, Captain Arlen Voss sat cross-legged on the synthetic grass, his standard-issue uniform slightly rumpled from the day's exercises. Around him, 6 juvenile Scar-Athi, apex predators from the death world of Scar Prime, lounged in various states of repose. The smallest, barely the size of a Terran wolf, had its massive head resting on Voss's knee. The largest, already approaching the bulk of an Earth grizzly despite its youth, lay sprawled behind him, occasionally huffing warm breath against the back of his neck. "This is madness," hissed Cadet Jakara, her translucent wings fluttering anxiously. "Those creatures killed 3 handlers last cycle on the Viridian station. They're classified as priority red containment risks." Cadet Torn, a hulking Valorian whose species had conquered half their sector through military might, shook his head slowly. "My people have a saying, only the dead know no fear. That human should be terrified." Below, the boldest cub, designated Rinka by the training staff, stirred from her position at Voss's side. She was distinctive among her siblings, bearing a scar across her snout from a dominance fight during their first week in captivity. The young predator stretched, her sleek obsidian scales catching the artificial sunlight, then padded around to face the human directly. Voss didn't flinch. He simply extended his hand, palm up, and waited. Rinka sniffed his fingers, her rows of serrated teeth visible as she opened her maw. The cadets above tensed collectively. Those jaws could crush titanium alloy support beams. Instead, the cub made a low rumbling sound, almost like Earth's extinct lions. Voss had noted in his reports and pressed her head into his hand. "Impossible," breathed Cadet Urix, his 6 eyes widening. "Scar-Athi don't bond. They tolerate, they hunt, they kill. But they don't. They don't do that." The human's fingers worked through the spaces between Rinka's scales, scratching the softer skin beneath. Her eyes, 3 of them arranged in a triangular pattern, slowly closed in apparent contentment. "Attention," came the crisp voice of Instructor Melvane over the intercom. The ancient Catharan gestured with 2 of his primary appendages toward the access lift. "Captain Voss has agreed to a Q&A session. You may join him in the biodome if you can maintain proper protocols." The suggestion was met with silence. Finally, Cadet Jakara, whose academic record placed her at the top of the xenobiology track, steeled herself. "I'll go." Torn surprised everyone by stepping forward as well. "As will I." The descent to the biodome felt longer than its actual 30 seconds. The lift doors opened with a soft hiss and the 2 cadets stepped onto the grass, acutely aware that they were now sharing space with creatures that evolution had designed for one purpose: killing. Voss looked up with a slight smile. "Ah, brave volunteers. Come, sit. They've been fed today and they're curious, not hungry." "There's a significant difference." Jakara approached carefully, her flight instincts screaming at her to escape. She settled onto the ground 3 meters from the human, while Torn positioned himself as a potential shield between her and the predators, old military training dying hard. "Sir," Jakara began, her voice barely steady, "the question all the cadets have, why do they rest beside you? Our professors say Scar-Athi recognize only dominance hierarchies established through violence. She hesitated. "No offense intended, but you're not physically imposing by galactic standards." Voss chuckled, the sound causing Rinka's ears to perk up. "None taken. You're right. By most species measures, humans are fairly average. We're not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most naturally armed." He gestured to the cubs around him. But that's exactly why they rest beside me." Torn's ridge-covered brow furrowed. "I don't understand." "Because I don't fear them," Voss said simply. The cadets exchanged confused glances. Jakara ventured, "Oh, but surely fear is quite rational. These are dangerous predators." Voss's expression grew thoughtful. He continued stroking Rinka, who had now rolled partially onto her back, a position of vulnerability that the professors had declared impossible for Scar-Athi to adopt. "Fear is rational, yes. But humans learned something important in our evolutionary history. We shared our world with predators, big cats, wolves, bears. And you know what we discovered?" He paused, looking directly at both cadets. Predators don't want to fight. Not really. Fighting risks injury, and injury means death in the wild. They want easy prey. They want fear. Rinka's sibling, a slightly smaller male, approached Torn cautiously. The Valorian went rigid. Easy now, Voss advised. He's reading your body language. All that tension tells him you're either prey about to bolt or a threat about to attack. Either way, you're triggering his instincts. Torn forced himself to breathe slowly, relaxing his massive shoulders. The young Scarathi sniffed at his armored forearm, then lost interest and flopped down beside him with surprising casualness. On Earth, Voss continued, we had humans who worked with predators, not through domination, but through understanding. We learned to read them, and they learned to read us. These cubs? He gestured around him. They're not so different from the animals we domesticated thousands of years ago. They're intelligent, social, and they respond to confidence and consistency. Jakara watched as Rinka's eyes tracked a floating pollen spore, her hunting instinct momentarily distracted by the drifting particle. The supposedly untrainable killing machine looked, in that moment, remarkably like a playful kitten. The other species see these cubs and project their own fears onto them, Voss explained. They approach with weapons, with shock prods, with the expectation of violence. And guess what? They get violence in return. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But you, Torn said slowly, understanding beginning to dawn, you approach them as if they're already friends. Not quite, Voss corrected gently. I approach them as individuals worthy of respect, not fear. I set boundaries, I maintain consistency, and I never ever show them that I expect them to attack me. He smiled. Humans have a saying, fake it till you make it. Sometimes confidence is just really good acting. Rinka suddenly chirped, a sound none of the researchers had documented before, and pounced on Voss's boot, worrying at the laces like a puppy with a toy. They rest beside me, Voss concluded, because I give them something they've never had before, a relationship without fear from either side. I don't fear them, so they don't need to fear me. In that space, trust grows. As the artificial sun began its programmed descent, painting the biodome in shades of orange and gold, the cadets sat in silence. Above them, pressed against the viewport, 24 future leaders of the Galactic Federation watched a human do the impossible, not through strength or technology, but through the simple, revolutionary act of refusing to be afraid, and curled up closest to him. As always, Rinka slept peacefully, her scarred snout resting against the human's leg, her 3 eyes closed in absolute trust.